Welcome back. In this lesson we are going to use an ink dip pen to create the detailed lines of texture on our dragonfly picture. Today you will get what's called an inkwell. It looks something like this, and a dip pen that looks something like this. To get the ink out of the inkwell, what you'll do is you'll take your pen and you'll carefully, delicately dip it into your inkwell. Now, once you do that, you'll see that there's ink here on the tip. This ink will stain your hands, so be very careful with it. Then, as you start to work, you'll need to press down very gently. How are you going to press down? That's right. And as you press down, you just pull your ink pen along your paper. Now, as you're pulling your ink pen, you will notice that it will start to run out and it will get dry. And as it gets dry, you're going to have to fill it up with ink once again. Now, an ink pen is very much like, here's me dipping the ink pen in my inkwell gently. An ink pen is very much like a paintbrush. You can't push it. You shouldn't scribble it sideways. You're just going to pull the direction of the handle, just like you would with a paintbrush. Now, as you start doing this, I'm going to go a little faster now that you've been able to see me. You're going to be leaving little gaps in your lines. We've talked about that before, and that is called an implied line. It's a line that starts and stops and brings the eye through the line. Now, as you do this, you're creating repetition, right? We talked about the idea of repetition and pattern, and how on this particular picture we want repetition rather than a pattern that's regular. So I'm just going to finish these little veins, and we'll talk about the intermediate lines here. And now, once I have that done, I'm going to make the little lines in between here. And as I do that, I am careful not to run into the other lines and not to create an exact pattern. If you notice, I've had to re-dip my ink pen quite a few times to make sure that I still have ink on my pen. Alright, and this is a very fun thing to practice with. Now, the ink will stain your clothes, it will stain your fingers, it will come out of your fingers after a couple days, but it will not come out of your clothes. So be very, very careful with the ink. If you need anything, make sure you ask right away so that I can help you with your pen or your ink, okay? Because we don't want to have a lot of disaster happening. All right? So, since we already watched most of the video of how to finish this, even though I was using a Sharpie marker in that demonstration, you're going to do the same exact idea, but you're just going to carry it out with our dip pen. Once you're done working on your dragonfly or whatever other project, you're going to take your dip pen and just gently wipe the tip like that and return it to the area that I have set up in class, and make sure that when you put it away, the point of the tip is pointing up, just like we would put a paintbrush away, so that we don't ruin the tip. Then make sure that you bring this inkwell back to the area where I have set up for it and just set it out like that. And that is how you finish using an ink dip pen for the detailed textures on our dragonfly picture.